Hello and welcome back to another Mindustry Eviction guide video. Today I'm going to be talking about what different schematics you should have and how you should name them to be able to make them really easy to access like this. I will also be talking about what to do in your first hex and how to get out of the first hex with a sizable amount of economy to continue playing into the rest of the game. So to start off with, how to name your schematics. Your schematics should be named, in my opinion, as such. You should be naming them in such a way that I have here, where you have bracket E01 and then the name of the schematic. Oftentimes you don't even need to put the name of the schematic. So the idea of this is that you have your silicon, graphite, and metaglass on one page, and your general economy on one page. Sometimes there's some schematics like this that are general economy and you still put there. You should have your platinum, surge, phase, and anything weird extra like this oil X coal on the second page. You should have, and that's on W normally for me. On Q is what I have my unit schematics, and this is all of my unload and self economies. So unit schematics, like say, this is my 4 quasar, and here's my scrap to pulsar, and maybe my self-eco Baylor, which is quite a bad schematic in terms of defenses, but it's good enough. You should have your schematics set up like this, and then differential generators and some other things on the last page, which is A for me. You should have your schematics set up like this so that you can press any hotkey and really quickly pull it up. Like if I want a 7 differential generator schematic, I can just do this and get it out. Or if I want maybe a 2 silicon, I can do that. Or if I want a Corvus, I can do, that's not a Corvus, I can do that. And just get it out instantly, so I can keep doing other things with my actions, called actions per minute, or APM. It's going to be referred to as APM for the rest of the video, so get used to that. I want to be able to do as many things as I can with my APM, so I need to optimize my APM as much as I can, and this is how you can do that. You can set up your schematic library such that you can pull out any schematic that you like. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is your front page. So for me, my front page looks like this. And the way that you set that up is you do simply bracket, 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 and then the number. And you can see here I've got bracket, bracket, bracket 01, 02, and instead of having, for example, bracket A01, bracket A02, just bracket, 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 and it always goes to the front of the schematic library. So these are all of the most important schematics that I want in every game. And well, not necessarily the ones that I want in every game, but the ones that I need to be able to pull out quickly. Like for example, my node spam schematic, I need to be able to pull that out really quickly. So I pull it out and just plop it. And the same with my small tiny defenses for early game. I really want to be able to put these down quickly. So I put them down like that. There are some other ones. I don't think I've ever even used this one. There's some weird schematics in here, but for the most part, they're all schematics that you use a lot and that you need to get out really quickly. Other than that, the necessary schematics to have, in my opinion, are a 2 silicon, some form of air blaster silicon. There are a couple of different versions of this. I know that RZ in particular uses, I don't have the schematic, but they use this one version that has 4 silicon smelters and a graphite press, and then overflows a little bit of coal to core, and then they unload that coal into diff gens. I find that to be a little bit more APM intensive, a little bit less cost effective, and just a tiny bit slower and worse overall, but it's really up to you. So you need definitely a 2 silicon and a 6 silicon. You also probably want at least a 6 graphite. Probably another one that's bigger, though that's not necessary. I played for a very long time without that. but you want some form of metaglass production, probably a 2x or a 5x. You can do this on core or off core, it doesn't really matter. And other than that, that's really all of the economy that you need. Other than that, you need some form of poly schematic. You can use this, which I use for dome rushes. You can use just a 3 poly, or you can use a 3 poly and tear it up to make a 1 poly. It doesn't really matter. But you need some sort of poly, and you need some sort of aggressive unit, probably Zenith, Fortress, and you need Megas. And that will basically allow you to play any hyper-aggressive game, well, any hyper-aggressive game at all, really. If you spawn close to your opponent or you play just like that, then that's all of the schematics you should need. Oh, you also need some power, some form of 2-diff. I use this because I have a lot of APM. Realistically, for most players, you should probably be using something a bit more like, if I can remember how to build it, it's a bit like this. And then you just have, those are the wrong way around. And then you just have water going into there, and you make that an inverted sorter for, right? Yeah, an inverted sorter for pyrite. Put that into there, and then a sorter for pyrite. That works. Something like this schematic, but I don't use it because it has a lot. It needs sand and coal and core, and I don't like that. Those are basically all the schematics you need to get rolling. If you ever want to play longer games, and this is particularly important in free-for-alls, you need a lot more schematics. You, for example, will probably need some form of self-economy zenith. You'll need some sort of larger unload zenith. You'll need probably a Corvus factory. You'll need a lot of big things, and that's just the units. You'll also need things like a big silicon factory, a big graphite factory, lots of extra silicon, metaglass, graphite. You'll need all of these schematics if you play late game, and I'll leave a link to my schematics folder in the description. So if you want to be able to play longer games, you can look there. And as I said before, all of my schematics, E for economy, W for plastanium, surge, and phase, Q for units, and A for power. There's a couple of exceptions with things like that down there, but you don't have to be too concerned about that. Third and final thing, or last thing, schematics like this, there are 2 ways that you can build them. You can either build them with, and it's also like this one, the microprocessors that are used in this big ring don't actually get placed on the eviction server because they're banned blocks. So basically what that ring shows me is it shows me how big the pod is before I have to place down the schematic. So for that one right there, I need to use it on at least one quite large coal patch. Otherwise, I won't be able to plug coal into it and I'll end up with issues. So I place it in a game kind of like this. Something like this. And I'd make sure that the drills are at least touching this ring. The other case where you should probably be doing that is with tierable schematics. For example, this one. And the reason for that is that I might accidentally place without this here. I might accidentally place a sand drill here, and then when I go to upgrade the schematic later, it gets completely screwed over, and nothing works. So I have to delete things, and maybe sometimes things get clogged, so I have to start rebuilding the schematic, and it's just a hassle and it's not worth it. So that's the other case where you should probably be using microprocessors. The alternative is to use, if I can find a good schematic, yeah, here's a good example, is to use just junctions in the corners of the schematic, in at least one corner, and that way I can see the entire schematic fits in this area, and don't go inside that area unless I have to. The microprocessor trick works a lot better though. And that's basically everything that you need to know with your schematics, other than you just need to sometimes memorize what's on your front page and things like that and what's where. It'll take a couple of games to get used to, but you'll be completely fine after a little bit. Now on to how to play in the first hex. Okay, just booting up this training map made by Proton. We can see that we've got a good hex here, and I've got pause play on. So I can pause the game and show you the build order. There's one particular build order that I've always found for a really long time to just be quite a lot better than all of the other ones that I've tried. Just do this because that's normally done already in Eviction. It's just quite a lot better than all of the other ones that I've tried. Specifically for building economy. So the very first thing you want to do is just set up your 2 silicon. And you want to do that with, as I'm doing here, a laser drill and a steam generator. And that's just because of how the ratios work out and how easy it is to set up. It's just a bunch of hotkeys. I recommend that you learn these hotkeys because I recommend you learn pretty much every hotkey because they're all incredibly useful. Now, in terms of building titanium, there are 2 ways to go. You can either build 5 to 6 drills, or you can build 2 drills on with water. 2 full drills with water. And now that we've got the silicon up, and it's obviously still not producing the core, the next thing that we want to do is just tear up that starting part of our starting base and use one of the unloaders that we had for daggers and monos. 1 extra dagger factory, 1 extra mono factory. I'm just going to take this hex because it looks pretty good. And I'm going to unpause the game. There are now 2 different things that you can do here. You can either use, but you have to get the same resource. You can either use a drill schematic like I just did, and I would recommend a drill schematic like this. I think it's slightly better like that, but it's 1 copper, it doesn't really matter. Just makes placement slightly easier. Or you can do it by hand like this. I generally do it by hand because it's really difficult to get a good amount of coal that will fit under this. Like if I place it here, I'm going to have a couple of bad drills, and I'm also going to be wasting a bunch of drills on sand. Now, generally here, you want to start tearing up your scatters and arcs, and that's because your scatters and arcs they cost a lot of copper and lead, and thus when you destroy them, they refund you a bunch of copper and lead. As soon as that's done, you want to build thorium. This build will try to go for an air blast in the first hex as fast as it can, but it's not an air blast rush not considered an air blast rush because it builds a 2 silicon first. It's not going directly for an air blast as your first silicon production. So I'm going to be going a little bit faster because of pause play here than you typically would be in the game, but as soon as that's done, you want to normally go for graphite, and then you'll build some metaglass. And those 2 basically go hand in hand in this first hex. It doesn't really matter what order you build them in. It just matters that you build both of them at this point. And then after this, you're just going to keep playing. And whenever you're not doing anything, you should be mining copper. Same thing. Not the same thing, but whatever. And then as soon as you're done with that, and I'm doing a lot of things very quickly here, basically as soon as you're done with that, you want to set up a steam generator and an air blast drill. And you want to do that with water, with leftover water. So you can see our power is slightly negative. The steam generator will fix that. And then we'll go slightly negative again when the air blast drill plugged into a 6 silicon, which is what we're building now, is finished. So we're going to get out our 6 silicon schematic. And we're just going to build it all right up like this. And you can see here, I'm running out of copper. That's very normal because I've been going with pause play. I've been going quite fast. So if you're doing it really well, you'll often run out of copper. You'll also run out of copper if you're doing it really badly. So it can be a little bit either or. As soon as you're done with that, you can see our power is very low. Once these silicon factories start up, it'll turn negative. So as soon as you're done with that, you want to put down your differential generator. You can do this on core or off core. I recommend doing it off core, but it does take quite a lot of APM, and I would recommend saving your schematic as this rather than as what I have it here. And basically what we need to do now is we need to fix the power deficit that we've created by building that differential generator as quickly as we can. So we just get the differential generator up. I think I accidentally deleted the cryo fluid mixer. Syro fluid, I don't know how to pronounce it. And we're out of silicon, that's normal. Whenever you're out of silicon in this build order, just pick up some silicon from one of your unit factories and just dump it back into the core, and it'll let you build a little bit more stuff as it slowly starts to unload. Now that we're done with that, we can see that daggers are soon going to be taking next hex, and you have two options here. If you have a little bit of extra time before the daggers take the second hex, I would recommend just building whatever you would build next in your first in your next hex. So for me, that would be graphite, and I'm just going to put down a graphite factory, set it up, and go there. And you want to try to set up monos. That's actually something I forgot. Generally, after you've built the differential generator, you go immediately for 2 extra mono factories. It doesn't really matter if you build them a little bit later, but it's a little bit awkward sometimes. And that is basically the entirety of first hex done. You can see we've got plenty of power. We've got a 6 silicon, we've got an air blast, all of that. And in a game, in an actual game, you're looking at getting, maybe not with the air blast, with the graphite air blast, but you're looking at getting all of this up at just before 3 minutes. If you're on a good pace, it does require a lot of APM. So don't expect, if you're a really new player and you don't have really fast hands, don't expect to be able to get this done in 3 minutes. Maybe don't even expect to get it done in 4. But if you remember what to do after each other, like you set up the 2 silicon, and then you set up titanium, and then you set up monos and daggers, and you can even write it down next to you. If you remember to do it all, you'll go a lot faster than you currently are, I'm sure. And if you're a good player, I would also recommend just trying out this at least. See if it's faster for you, because I know it's been a lot faster for me for everything that I've done. Moving on to second hex, I'll talk about that more in the next video. There are some small changes that can happen in this first hex. Say if you don't have a lot of water, then you might build more titanium drills and not water them. Or if you have no water, you might just immediately build titanium and then try to build a differential generator. And you do need extra titanium for that differential generator when you don't have water, because it costs a little bit more titanium than you can afford. You have 50 and it needs an extra 60. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 50. Other than that, everything pretty much stays the same hex between hex. Sometimes you might have to use a water extractor here or there. You can see that we have got the resources if you needed to do that. Overall, it's just a very fast first hex, and it's what I'd recommend to pretty much every player. Thank you for tuning in and watching the video. I hope this has been helpful to you. And I hope to see you again in the next part that I'll be making shortly.